getting to know you. Our guest this week is St. Sebastian's parishioner and longtime theology faculty member at Marquette University High School, Mr. Dan Holahan. Dan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, John. Thanks very much.
Thanks for doing this.
Sure, no problem.
You just finished the school day, right?
Yeah, we have a standard 8-period day, so I happen to have, well, without getting too complicated, we have forward and reverse days. So today is a reverse day and I have first period off. So it's my prep period, but at the end of the day, it's sometimes I spend it, I don't spend it wisely. So this is the best way I'm spending it in a while, I think. So
well, that's good. I like that. Tell me, I don't even know the answer to this. How long have you been at Marquette High?
Okay, this is my 34th year at Marquette High School. So I started in 1988. I had just completed 4 years as the director of religious education at St. Catherine's, and then was hired at Marquette High. So
I didn't even know that.
Yep, I started. Let's see, the path I took, I guess, without getting into too much detail, I guess, but I went to high school seminary, St. Lawrence Seminary in Mount Calvary. And then I spent 2 years in the college program there. Then I was a Capuchin for 5 years after that. And at the end of my Capuchin career, I had started graduate school in Chicago at Catholic Theological Union. And so I was working on a Master of Divinity degree, and decided to leave the Capuchins, and then came back to Milwaukee, and I had enough money for 1 semester at Marquette University. So unless I found a job. So I was doing that. So I lived with my grandmother across the street from St. Catherine's. My mother is a native of Milwaukee and my grandmother, longtime parishioner at St. Catherine's. My grandfather actually taught at Marquette High as well in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Wow. And so it was very inexpensive to live with my grandmother. So I started at Marquette U, trying to finish up a master's in theology, and happened to be there. So I did happen to find a job at the library at Marquette U, and then I was able to continue my studies and got my master's. And then at Marquette U, I met Maureen, and that's how we got married. And again, that's another branch of the whole family thing we talk about. But after that, when I finished up my master's, I had been working at Marquette U and was looking to use my master's in theology for something, and I wanted to work for the church. I'd like to to kind of that evangelization idea. Yeah. And so I did get a job at St. Catherine's in '84, and that was when our first son was born. And so I worked there for 4 years, and then felt the need to do something different, and knew some of the faculty members and administrators from Marquette High School were members at St. Catherine's at the time. And so they suggested I apply, and so I applied at Marquette. I applied to a number of different places, both in religious education, DRE stuff, family formation, those kind of things, and then also teaching at Marquette High School. And I guess if I would have known then what I know now, it might have been a different kind of move, but I look forward to teaching. I really enjoy it this year more than ever, I think, and I really love Marquette. I really enjoy Marquette High School, and I started patterning my teaching career after my own high school experience, and I learned pretty quickly that there was a little distance between my high school career and the students I was teaching. So I've been working over these past 34 years to really sharpen my teaching abilities and my skills in the classroom. So it's been a great ride, and I look forward to. Again, I don't take things with the long view as much as I used to. So as I've gotten older and gone through a few things, but I really do enjoy teaching, and it's a good place to be in. I really enjoy it. That's my pitch for Marquette High. If anyone watches it and wants to know how to, where they want their sons to go to high school. So
I love that, and I want to follow up on that, but I have about 7 questions. I got to pick which one I want to ask. Well, sure. First of all, what do you teach at Marquette High?
I teach theology. So over the past 34 years, the only class I've consistently taught for 34 years is sophomore theology. So
which is,
I hope it doesn't show. which is was originally was a morality and a sacraments mix.
Yeah.
And then I forget when we split it up into semesters. And so I focused on moral decision making, which is the sophomore course. And then this year we had another switch. And so this first semester, which I've really enjoyed, I teach New Testament. And as I joke with the students, I'm hoping to get through the Gospel of Mark during the semester. So we're starting to pick up some ground in the Gospel of Mark, so we can at least talk about a few other authors in the New Testament. But that's new this year, so I'm really looking forward to that. And then I teach. I have taught juniors and seniors. This year, I'm teaching seniors a Catholicism and world religions course. But I've also taught for many years, which I really enjoyed, the philosophy elective. When I majored in philosophy in college, I didn't even actually think I would actually use my philosophy degree, but I wound up teaching for over 30 years, the philosophy elective here at Marquette High School for seniors. So I
Oh,
really did enjoy that.
yeah, that's great. What is your favorite thing to teach?
Wow, that's a tough one. I really, I mean, for myself, I like church history a lot. And I've taught church history for a few years, a number of years during my career. But sometimes I think I might be one of the few people in the classroom who really likes church history. So that's been more of a challenge, I think.
Sure.
I really do like the sophomore course, which is a moral decision-making course, helping 15 and 16-year-old boys trying to make good decisions. What it entails to develop their conscience, what are the sources that go into making a good decision.
Right.
I really have enjoyed that, I must admit, and I've taught that every year since I started. But I think all the classes that I've taught, for the most part, I'm kind of what I like to say, I'm kind of like the utility infielder. And I was department chair for a number of years, and if there's a gap and they need someone to teach something, usually I'll volunteer to teach something. So I get a number of classes that maybe I haven't taught, which is kind of a challenge.
Sure.
But I enjoy different things and just trying different things and seeing where it fits.
Thank God that you're teaching 15 and 16-year-old boys morality. Someone needs to do that.
I don't promise results maybe their parents want, but I tell them I only have them for a semester, so I do the best I can with the semester that I have.
I want to go back to the Capuchins, but before I do that, I want to talk about Marquette. What do you love about Marquette High? You're pitching it. Give us a specific about what you love about it.
Well, again, as I like to joke, I'm one of the Franciscan-hearted people at Marquette High School among the Jesuits. But I really have discovered, I think, a real gift in the spirituality of St. Ignatius of Loyola. And I think what we try to do is imbue the students with that same, again, and it's a different level. These are, 14 to 18-year-old boys. But we really try to carry on that spirit of St. Ignatius. And I think that really has been something that has really contributed to my own spiritual development and my relationship with God. So I think in our attempt to really make this a good experience, a good Catholic Ignatian experience for high school boys, I think that's really what has kept me here and what's drawn me here. I think the place supports, the school supports the development of the spirituality and the spiritual development of the faculty members. I think it also tries to encourage the students to do the same, to grow in their own spiritual, and again, within the context of boys 14 to 18, there's certain limits you have to accept, but it is trying to put it at that level, to give them a good, what we call the grad at grad is one of the things that is real important. The five components that we focus on, being open to growth, that we want the students to be open to growth, that we want them to be intellectually excellent. We want them to be committed to justice. We want them to be loving. We want them to be religious. And I think those, the components of the philosophy of the grad at grad, I think is really something that I think it's, and I think I suspect most high schools are in a similar situation, but I found that that has been really beneficial for me as well as for the students.
That sounds very fantastic. That's good. Thanks for sharing that. That gives us insight into the place that you spend so much time. I was
Yeah,
gonna.
you just check with my wife. She can support that for that as well. So,
let's talk about that. Tell us about your family. I know your family is very important.
so my wife Maureen and I just celebrated our 39th wedding anniversary this year. We were actually married on her parents, Maureen's parents' wedding anniversary as well. So they're now deceased, but we remember them as well on our wedding anniversary. 5 children. Our oldest, Brendan, is 30. Now I'm going to get in all kinds of trouble, but 37. And then Eamon's 35, and then Claire is 33, and Maeve is 30, I think. 30, I think, and then our youngest, Fiona, is 25. So the 3 girls are graduates of St. Sebastian's, and the 2 boys are graduates of St. Catherine's. So
fantastic. That's great. That's good. I've gotten to know your kids and can attest that you have infused that moral development very good into them. So
well, I married well, so that pays off. So
if you don't mind me going back for a second, maybe this is a talk about your maybe this is our transition into talking about your faith. I wanted to ask you about your Capuchin experience.
okay.
And you don't have to get into detail if you don't want to, but I'm really curious about it. I have described myself as someone living in a Jesuit world at Marquette University with a Franciscan heart too. So I think you and I are cut from the same cloth.
Now they're not mutually exclusive. So just so everyone's sure of that they work together, but it's
absolutely
a little different spirituality. Yeah.
Yeah, but tell me, like, what was that experience like for 5 years, huh?
Well, I grew up in Fond du Lac, and I think it was probably Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts. We did did a retreat at Camp Shaganappy. I don't know why I remember that. It's just probably the name sticks with somebody, but and we had actually one of the vocation directors from St. Lawrence Seminary, which was in Mount Calvary. So, but it's about 10 or 12 miles outside of Fond du Lac. And he came and showed us a movie on the Franciscans and the Capuchins, and he talked to us, and I was just infatuated with that. And actually, at that age, so I was maybe, 10 or 11. I don't know how old it was. But from our parish, St. Joe's in Fond du Lac, our pastor, Monsignor Reardon, in those days, was very proud of the fact that he sent not sent, but a number of our students from St. Joe's would go to the seminary, and they would go to St. Lawrence. So I always knew it was there, and I got connected, or I had experience. My father was involved in community theater, and he went up there and helped someone with the plays and makeup and things like that. So I got a chance to go up there, and so I knew it was there, and for whatever reason, it was just a place I always thought I might like to go when I was in high school. And then we moved out of Fond du Lac and moved to Ripon. And at the time, I thought, well, maybe this is the time for me to make a transition too. So I went to St. Lawrence in 1969 and graduated in 1973, and it was my first experience of living away from home. And again, I'm the oldest of 7, and so that living away from home didn't seem like such a bad idea at the time. To get a little of my own space. And of course, what did I do? But I, wound up living with 100 other guys as freshmen, and that kind of thing. So
right.
It wasn't like I was not without a family, but it was a different kind of experience. So I really had my high school. In fact, as I tell people, and we'll be in 2023, we'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary. I don't ever think I'm that old. Maybe it's teaching sophomores all day that I don't consider myself old, but I will be out of high school 50 years by then. And my best friend, some of my best friends, I have a lot of good friends, but the friends that are the closest to me are the ones that the guys I went to high school with, a number of the guys I went to high school with. But the spirituality of Franciscanism, that idea of, kind of really dependence on God, of living simply, living, kind of using the vows, if you will, of poverty, chastity, and obedience to guide your life were really significant for me. And I just, as I continued on, not all my, I think we were talking, and I don't think any of my classmates remained as Capuchins. We had, I think, one or one of our classmates, and he died unfortunately a number of years ago. But most of my classmates are, living married lives with children, and I actually, one of my classmates became a Lutheran pastor because he felt the need to minister, but didn't want to remain as a celibate, so that
Sure.
kind of thing. And
Sure.
but I stayed, took joined the Capuchins officially after 2 years of college, and I was stationed, as I like to say, in a number of the central cities of the Midwest Rust Belt. So I lived in, I went from Huntington, Indiana, where a novitiate was, to Detroit, and I lived in Detroit for a few years, and then I lived in Chicago, and I took some side trips to Milwaukee and spent some summers there. So I really enjoyed the life of um, being dependent on God, I guess you'd say, and trying not to be dependent on other things. And it was, it was not without its challenges, but it was something I really, really gained great depth, I think, in my life about, and I learned some lessons that have stayed with me throughout my adult life. And really remember every day the many Capuchins who supported me. And when I think about it now, I think about it, having been a parent or being a parent, that these men, really helped raise me through my adolescence and my early adulthood. And unfortunately, not everyone, and I realized that after the whole sex abuse crisis and things like that, that not everyone had the same experience that I did, but mine was very powerful and very deep experience of good things that happened, and I'm very grateful for that. And I'm saddened by the experience that some of the people who went through the program had, and it's a mixed bag, but it really provided for me an opportunity to grow and to understand life from a different perspective that I think is something, I guess, when you think about the future, that a simpler lifestyle, I think, would benefit a lot of us as we travel on into the world ahead. So
Yeah, a lot of wisdom in what you just said. Yeah, thank you for that. Hey, I wanted to ask you about your current life situation. You had some recent challenges. I wondered if you wanted to talk about that at all.
yeah, sure. You know, we had this thing called COVID-19, and I guess still going on, as I took my masks off for this interview, but that, and again, Marquette High has put in a lot of things in place to try and protect our students from it. But last year, just a little over a year ago, two of my children got married. And the first, Brendan got married at St. Catherine's in May of 2020. And, we were restricted in terms of numbers, and we could only have immediate family. Then my daughter, Maeve, got married at St. Sebastian's in August, and we could have more people at that time. So we thought, oh yeah, okay, COVID-19, it's on the run and things like that. And well, sure enough, it wasn't on the run. And my wife and I both contracted COVID-19 in November. And so I thought, well, okay, I made it through that, so there's nothing I have to really worry about. And I had been to my regular doctor's appointments. He checks me for, as I say, old man's diseases, cholesterol and high blood pressure. And as he said, the third strike was diabetes, but I don't have that yet, so knock on wood. But so life was streaming along pretty well with just normal stuff. And then they thought I had some kidney troubles, that I had some kidney issues, and so I went to a nephrologist, and he took some tests, and I paid the insurance for it and all that kind of good stuff. And then in December of 2020, at the end of December, he gave me a call and he said, well, your kidneys look okay. And I thought, okay, that's good. He said, but I made an appointment for you at the Lombardi Cancer Clinic. And I said, oh, really? And he said, yeah, you have, I want them to, I need a second opinion on some stuff. So my brother had been through, I have a young, I said, I'm the oldest of 7. So one of my brothers had prostate cancer, and he's recovered, thankfully. And with that, and my father died of cancer in 2000. So we've had an experience of cancer in our family, but they said, okay, you should do this. And so I went there, and I've been feeling well. I had not had any experiences of any kind of, I'm always in good health. I think, as I joked with some of my colleagues, over the course of 33 years at that time, you could count on two hands the number of days I've missed from school.
Hmm.
Well, I probably should have stayed home a number of times, but I just don't do that. So,
Right.
um, but then in 2020, at the end of December, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is a cancer of the plasma, apparently in the bone marrow. Luckily, our youngest daughter Fiona, was going through an anatomy and physiology course for some of the direction she wanted to take in her life, and she was able to explain to Maureen and I what this was all about with video, or not video, but slides from YouTube and things like that. So, anyways, the doctor said, okay, this is what's going to happen, and we're going to start you on chemotherapy. And I went to see the doctor, I think on a Tuesday, the Tuesday before Christmas, and he said, okay, we're going to start you on this on Wednesday.
Wow.
And I said, oh, okay. And the nurse came in, of course, said, no, the doctors, we're not going to start you on Wednesday. We don't have time to do that. But so I wound up from January until April. I was on an oral chemotherapy pill, and then I got a shot every week for trying to keep the multiple myeloma in check. And then what they were preparing me for was a stem cell transplant. So in April, I went on medical leave from Marquette High School and had a stem cell transplant. I guess the word is autologous. They take my own stem cells, kind of clean them off, freeze them up, and then they warm them up, thankfully, and then put them back in my body. And so I'm one of those. I'm the face of the immunocompromised many in the world today. So I have. They tell me I feel fine. As I said, from my shins up, I feel just fine. And I have some neuropathy in my feet, so that's a little bit of a challenge. But I will be starting probably in, let's see, like 2 or 3 weeks. I'll be starting to take all my childhood immunizations over again, because it gets wiped out with the stem cell transplant. So
No kidding.
the joke was that we have a new grandson, Brendan, and his wife Katie have a baby, and he was born in May, and the joke was he and Grandpa were going to take their shots together, but he's ahead of me. He's got like 3 or 4 in already, and I haven't started yet. So, but no, I'm feeling fine. Unfortunately, one of the unfortunate things is I'm involved in the St. Vincent de Paul Society at St. Sebastian's, which I really enjoy. It's a great group of people. That's my pitch for them. A great group of people trying to do good things for the poor and those who are in need. And I'm fine, but because I'm immunocompromised and because it's harder for me to walk, especially upstairs, I've been kind of I've been a supportive member, but not really going out on the visits, which I really enjoy. So, but I'm feeling fine. It's a condition that I'll have to live with for the rest of my life. There is no cure, I guess, for it, as they tell me. So I just have to, I'm on medication, and that's, hopefully that will keep my numbers down to, at my last doctor appointment, I said it was the multiple myeloma was negligible. So that was a good sign, I thought.
Good.
So.
That's wonderful. And
But no, I feel fine, and I'm teaching full time, so I'm grateful for all kinds of things.
yeah, a lot of people in the parish have prayed for you, and I'm glad that you're feeling well. And you kind of, with the pain in your feet, you have a cool accessory that you carry around.
Yeah. Well, I use a cane, but it's kind of, I joke with people. I say, well, I really don't need the cane, but it just looks so cool that I
Yeah,
use
it looks really cool.
Yeah. No, I can walk. I mean, I can walk okay, but I sometimes lose my balance because I have to really be intentional when I move my feet.
Mhm.
So I have to pick them up. If I'm going too fast or trying to go laterally, and I coach football for many years here at Marquette High School, and trying to teach kids to go laterally and things. And now it's me. I have to always think about lifting my feet up. So, but it's just, as I said, I look at life and I say, I think of other people who have cancer, and we've had some experiences here at Marquette High where faculty members, younger faculty members, wives have had cancer. And I look at often the stories of children with cancer, and yeah, I'm not going to be running any marathons. Of course, I never ran any marathons before this, but if that's the only thing that happens to me as a result of what I can and can't do, again, another opportunity to be grateful and to feel blessed. So I don't worry too much about it.
It's a wonderful perspective. I'm sorry that you can't be a high school running back anymore.
Yeah, well, I never was, but I always I was always a lineman. I grew up as a lineman, and as I like to joke, I can keep up with anyone. I used to be able to keep up with anyone for about 5 yards, and then after that, it was that was all she wrote. But
5 yards, that's pretty good.
yeah, that was okay. But once I get past the 5 yards, then it's like goodbye. We'll see you later.
I know a lot of people are very grateful that you're doing well, and thanks for the update.
Well, and again, I just really believe in the power of prayer. I mean, so many people have sent me their prayer, that they're praying for me, and they continue to pray for me. And I know not everyone, kind of buys into that, but I just really believe I've been lifted up. And we did here at school, we did, our president, Father Mike Marco, we did the anointing of the sick before I went in for my stem cell transplant. And, it was just a powerful experience. I just really believe in the power of prayer. I'm a lifelong Catholic because I believe that despite all the, the problems and the issues that might face us in the Catholic Church as an institution, I just really believe that Jesus is present, and the power of sacraments and all that, just it's where it's supposed to be. And it's just a thing that it's what keeps us going. I mean, it certainly has kept me going.
Yeah.
So,
and that's your pitch for the Catholic Church.
There you go. Yeah, it's one of my friends, again, from high school, he was going to do a Zoom book club. I don't think it quite got off the ground, but he suggested a book, and it was a book that was kind of critical of the Catholic Church, and I've been reading it, and I understand what the author is trying to say, but at the same time, when I think of the Catholic Church, and I've seen both the ups and the downs and the good and the bad, and I teach church history, so I have a historical perspective, or I have taught church history.
Right.
I have a historical perspective, but I just really believe that, when I'm at church at St. Sebastian's or anywhere, and I hear the word proclaimed and I experience the sacraments, I just believe that Christ is present, and that's our connection to Jesus, and that's and that's my connection to something that's deeper and stronger and more meaningful than a lot of the experiences that are placed before us in the world today. So
yeah, that's a wonderful testimony and witness. Thank you for sharing your perspective on that, Dan. My last question that I ask everyone, and I wonder if you could reflect on, is when you think about the future, what do you hope for?
So every year, either at Christmas or my birthday, my family members will ask me what I want. And my first response, and my wife, Maureen, and the kids can attest to it, I always ask for world peace. That's what and I read the comics quite frequently, well, as often as I can in the paper. And I still do get the paper. I like to have the paper copy in my hands. So and I always, and occasionally there's something about world peace in there, and I always get a good chuckle at that. But I really would like, I'd like to see people come together, people willing to talk to each other. I don't agree with everyone, and I'm sure everyone doesn't agree with me. And part of what I really like about teaching is to engender in the students an attitude that we can disagree on things, but we have to come together and at least share ideas and talk about where we're at. Have people, in terms of accepting others, loving others, sharing ideas, being willing to respect people for who they are and what they're trying to do. And I know I guess I know there's evil in the world. But I think the only way, and I think there's a few quotes like this from Dr. King, but that you confront evil with good and with love. And I think that's the challenge. And I'm not always, when Pope Francis says he's a sinner, I don't really believe him, I must admit, but I know that I am a sinner, certainly. And I think in that, understanding that we're not all, we don't all have the answers, but a mentor of mine a long time ago talked to me about that we all have a piece of the truth.
Mhm.
And the challenge is to put the pieces of truth together,
Mm.
and we'll have the whole experience. And so I think that's a challenge that I see, is recognizing, yeah, I have some of the truth, but so do you, and so
Yeah,
do other people that share it, and see if we can build a better world or build a better place with those pieces of the truth. So
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I'm grateful that there's teachers like you out there that are fostering that sense of dialogue with their students to try to bring our truths together to understand the whole of what God's trying to do in our lives. So thanks for that. And I also will just say, I have, your daughters have babysat my kids and taught my kids, and I know your sons a little bit, and I just the job you and Maureen have done with your family is a model, has been a model for Lisa and I and our family. So
well, thank you.
yeah,
As I said, I married well, so that
I'm also grateful that your health's doing good, and I thank you for your time today. Thanks so much for talking to us, and I appreciate that, and blessings on your journey, Dan.
thank you, my pleasure.